Revealed, how I turned rejection into a life-changing journey by selling their land for $500,000. Jake Thompson stared at the fields that had cradled his family's dreams for generations, aching for the days when the sun kissed the earth with hope. Now, that land felt like a weight dragging him into despair. On this stormy evening, the winds howled like a grieving ghost, mirroring the turmoil spiraling within him. Just hours before, the offer from a wealthy developer had dangled like a ripe fruit, promising a fortune for the land his father, and his father before him, had tilled. $500,000. It could clear his mounting debts, but at what cost? This wasn't just land, it was legacy. His heart raced at the thought of selling. Disappointment washed over him, the whispers from neighbors filled his mind like ominous thunder. Jake can't be serious, they'd say, the scorn sharp enough to cut. He was known in this town for his hard work, his resilience. What if he takes the money and runs? They'd wonder. And now, as sheaves of rain fell unrelentingly outside, he felt completely and utterly alone. But just then, the door creaked open. Old Hank, his neighbor and a retired veteran, shuffled in, drenched but determined. "Got you a pie," Hank said, setting down the brown paper bag that held a warm apple pie, the sweet scent wafting through the room. "And I brought some talkin' too." There was something comforting in Hank's weathered face, a reminder of battles fought and survived. "Sometimes, you have to fight for what matters, son," Hank said, his eyes glistening with years of wisdom. "I walked away from offers like that before, they didn't know what our land meant to us." Jake looked into Hank's eyes, searching for reassurance he desperately needed. "You can't let those clouds overshadow your dreams, young man. Fight for your roots." Each word resonated, wrapping around Jake's heart like a lifeline thrown in turbulent seas. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the pie cools and the storm rages outside, an idea ignited within Jake. Maybe he didn't have to surrender. Instead, he could choose a different path, a new buyer who valued heritage and would keep the spirit of his family alive. Excitement coursed through him for the first time in weeks. But with it came dread. How would his family respond? The town's loyalty to their own could turn to bitterness. He knew the decision he'd made would send shockwaves. It was a gamble that risked everything. Nearby conversations in diners would shift as the news spread. Was he a hero for daring to save himself, or had he betrayed a legacy that meant more than money? Tension coiled in the air like an incoming storm cloud, ready to burst. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake stood at a crossroads watching his world shift beneath the weight of his decision. Would he be able to embrace the freedom this new path promised without losing what he held closest? As doubt nestled in his chest, the question hung heavily in the air: could he really redefine what it meant to honor legacy in a world driven by dollars? Jake awoke the next morning to the timid light of a reluctant sun filtering through his bedroom window. The storm had passed, leaving a freshness in the air that sharply contrasted with the chaos churning in his mind. Each breath felt heavy with unspoken possibilities and lingering uncertainty. He swung his legs over the edge of the bed, fingers trembling as they grazed the worn floorboards, a decades-old patch that had witnessed the laughter and tears of his family. It was the first day of what he hoped would be a new chapter, yet nostalgia pressed against him like a steel door. What would his father say if he could see the land now? Jake grabbed his phone, compelled by the urge to search for potential buyers. Each tap of the screen echoed his growing resolve, but the excitement was mixed with a bitter aftertaste. Every name on the list of developers felt like a wooden stake to the heart of his legacy. Who were they to come in and stake a claim on something that had thrived long before their ambition? Halfway through his hesitant scrolling, the doorbell rang sharp and unexpected. Jake's heart raced, and he suddenly felt exposed, vulnerable to judgment. He opened the door to find Sarah, his childhood friend. Her bright smile looked almost foreign against the dark shadows of doubt that lingered around him. "Hey, stranger. I brought coffee," she chirped, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "I heard about the offer, thought we could talk." Jake stepped aside, allowing her into his modest kitchen. The scent of brewed coffee filled the space, but he couldn't shake the heaviness looming inside him. As they sat down, the air thickened with unspoken words. "I don't mean to pry," she said hesitantly, stirring sugar into her cup. "But selling the land, is that really what you want?" He flinched at her question, silence echoing between them like the stillness before a storm. I don't know, Sarah. It could change everything. Or it could leave you feeling hollow," she replied gently, so unlike the brutal honesty he feared. "What do you want your life to look like?" "Sometimes, the money isn't worth the cost." Her words hit home. He had been so focused on survival that he hadn't paused to think about his future. Did he want to chase a dollar amount or nurture a legacy? "I just don't want to lose it. I can't betray my family's memory." Sarah reached across the table, her hand warm against his. "You won't lose your family, they're in you. You can still honor them without tying your worth to the land." A lump formed in his throat as he wrestled with emotion. Hope and fear intertwined dangerously, creating a whirlwind in his chest. It was true, his family lived through him, deep-rooted values influencing his choices. Just then, the phone buzzed, snapping Jake back to the present. It was the developer, eager for his decision. The excitement in the developer's message clashed with the weight in his gut. "I have to think," Jake whispered, the tension flooding his voice. With Sarah's eyes on him, he took a deep breath. "Can I relist the land, but seek out buyers who will respect its history?" He opened his heart and finally spoke his truth, even as the phone's notification felt like the steel grip of opportunity slipping away. "But the offer is limited," she cautioned softly. Jake looked out the window, where the sun broke through the clouds revealing the lush fields beyond. In that moment, a spark of clarity glimmered. He had to focus on what truly mattered, reimagining what it meant to honor his family. Would he dare to chase this new vision, or could the lure of quick cash sway him too easily? As the decision loomed ahead, Jake felt something within him crack open, an opportunity to fight for more than just survival. The question lingered in the air as he faced a choice that could redefine everything. Could he seize the chance and honor the past while paving a hopeful future? The sunlight poured across the room, but felt cold against Jake's skin. He could see the way Sarah's eyes searched his face, full of concern and encouragement. It was a look he had known his whole life but saw now through a different lens, one that was free of childlike innocence, filled instead with the weight of adult choices. "Jake," she said gently, "you don't have to make this decision today. Take your time to think it through." But time felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. Each second stretched and contorted, pressing him harder with the reality of his situation. He nodded but felt the tightness in his chest grow, his thoughts spiraling. No matter how he spun it, the offer was still on the table. A potential lifeline or a noose, it all depended on the choice he would make. "What if I can turn it into something more?" he said, almost as if trying to convince himself. "What if I find someone who'll keep the land as is, preserve it?" Sarah leaned back, contemplating. "Then you'd be doing this for the right reasons. But don't just hold on to it because of fear. Fear can keep you from moving forward, Jake." He rubbed the back of his neck, wishing he could erase the anxiety swirling within him. Suddenly, a memory washed over him, his father standing on that very land, arms wide, welcoming his children into the warmth of summer evenings, laughter rolling across the hills. This land had been a canvas for their lives, painted with the colors of joy and hardship alike. It wasn't just dirt and grass, it was legacy. "What if I fail?" he ventured, voice low, breaking the silence they had shared so far. "What if I'm not strong enough to fight for it?" "Then you learn," she said simply. Isn't that what life is about? Growth? Jake swallowed hard. The truth cut deep. He had been so scared of failure that it paralyzed him. Fear folded in on itself, like a heavy blanket that suffocated potential. But now, here was Sarah, reminding him of the resilience that ran through him. He was a Gallagher, after all. As their conversation ebbed and flowed, the phone buzzed again, a sharp reminder of the offer still lingering in the space between them. It taunted him, though another part of him felt a flicker of rebellion rise. What if he turned it down? What if he fought for a vision instead of buckling to the pressure? Jake looked out the window once more, and the fields glimmered in the morning light. He felt a surge of gratitude, feeling the richness of the place cradle him, nurture the ache in his heart. Sarah followed his gaze. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "Yeah," he replied, his heart swelling. "It is." "Then fight for it," she urged, squeezing his hand one more time before letting go. "You have to do what your heart tells you." Jake let her words seep in as he inhaled deeply, his spirit igniting with a mixture of hope and defiance. He knew what he wanted to say to the developer, the words forming in his mind as brightly as the sun hitting the fields. "I think I'll call him back," he said resolutely, the pulse of conviction filling his veins. "But not to accept the offer." "What will you say?" Sarah asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "I'll tell him I'm not ready to sell." "Not yet. I want time to find buyers who will honor this place." The resolve felt foreign but exhilarating, a leap into the unknown. Would the developer respect his wish or pressure him further? As he reached for his phone, doubt whispered at the edges of his mind. But as he looked at Sarah's unwavering support, he felt a strength bloom inside that had long been dormant. What if he fought back and began a journey to reclaim his family's legacy? His fingers hovered over the screen. Taking a breath, he hit call. Would they understand his passion, or reject him? The tension hung thick in the air as the phone rang. And in that moment, with the weight of possibility settled on his shoulders, Jake felt he was finally taking the first step toward what really mattered. How would the developer respond to his defiance? Would this choice lead him on a path he'd never expected? The moment the developer picked up, Jake's heart raced. "Hello, Mr. Larson," he began, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is Jake Gallagher." "Jake. Good to hear from you." The developer's voice was smooth, full of anticipation. "Have you given thought to my offer?" Jake paused, breathing in the scent of the earth outside his window. The birds chirped in the distance, almost as if urging him on. "Yes, I have. I'm not ready to sell," he declared, the words tumbling out more confidently than he felt. There was a moment of silence on the line, followed by a low chuckle. "What? You think you can find a better offer? The market is ripe right now. I can give you more time, but you're risking the opportunity of a lifetime. I appreciate your position, but this land is more than just a financial transaction for me. This is family. Legacy." His own voice surprised him. It was filled with a strength he hadn't recognized before, clear and firm, just like his father's when he spoke of their values. There was a flicker of hesitation on the other end, then Mr. Larson's tone shifted. "Listen, Jake, I get attachment. But you really should consider. I've thought about it." Jake cut in, feeling the swell of determination rise. "And given the opportunity, I'd rather honor its history than let it disappear." The developer's frustration was palpable. "This could change your life. You do understand how much money is on the table?" "More than money can replace," Jake said, surprising even himself. "I want to find buyers who care about this land, who will preserve its beauty and history." There was a long pause before Larson said, "That's naive, Jake. You think you can sit on it forever? Someone else will come in and offer cash. You're playing with fire." Jake's pulse raced, the excitement and risk tangling together. "Maybe. But if the debt means losing everything I stand for, then I'd rather struggle with the land than thrive with a price tag." The developer laughed again, though this time, it was devoid of warmth. "Let us be honest, kid. You're going to regret this." He hung up, and for a split second, that regret sliced through him. But then he glanced out at the fields again, sunlight dancing on the grass, the little details that made it home flooding back the way the oak tree swayed, its branches like arms embracing the sky. This was his heart, his history. Sarah was watching him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I heard your tone. That was powerful. But how do you feel?" Jake turned to her, heart pounding. Scared, but also relieved. "I made a choice. And now?" she asked, eyes sparkling with possibilities. "Now, I start the search. I need to connect with people who share the same vision." She beamed at him, and for a moment, that warmth washed over his anxieties. "You've got this, Jake." Taking a deep breath, he reached for his laptop, his fingers hesitating over the keyboard. How does one even start searching for buyers who resonate with the soul of this land? As he began looking up local conservation groups and land trusts, excitement bubbled within him. He was no longer a pawn in someone else's game. This was his board, his moves, his destiny. Jake's heart raced, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the edge of something monumental. Yet a nagging doubt crept in: what if he couldn't find anyone interested? The thought felt heavy in his chest as he kept typing, pushing back self-doubt with vision. Would the community stand with him? Could he rally support for his family's legacy? As he scrolled through websites and organizations, a new sense of purpose stirred within. And then he paused, a thought igniting. What if he could gather people who loved the land as much as he did? What if a community could come together for something bigger than profit? As he clicked on a link for a local meeting dedicated to land stewardship, adrenaline surged through him. Could this be the turning point? Would attending lead him in the right direction? And in that moment of hope, with so much still unknown ahead, Jake felt the first true brush of optimism sweep through him. Would he find the allies he needed, or would he face disappointment once again? Jake arrived at the community center, his heart beating rapidly in tune with the rising excitement in his chest. The smell of fresh coffee wafted through the air, mixing with the scent of newly printed flyers, and for a moment, he took it all in: the buzz of conversations, laughter shared, and the clinking of cups against tables. He felt out of place but also like a spark in a room full of kindling. As he stepped further inside, he spotted a bulletin board plastered with colorful notices, upcoming meetings, local festivals, and messages about preserving the natural beauty of the area. He needed to be a part of this, to tie his story into theirs. The small conference room was filling up, and Jake noticed a group of people huddled in a corner, their animated discussion animated. He took a deep breath and ventured toward them, each step a tiny victory against his nerves. "Hi, I'm Jake," he introduced himself, feeling a mix of eagerness and vulnerability. A woman with warm, engaging eyes turned to him. "Hey, I'm Elise. Are you here for the stewardship meeting?" "Yes," he said, searching her face for encouragement. "I'm looking to connect with other people who care about preserving our land. I own a piece that I don't want to see commercialized, and I just want to see it thrive." Her smile widened. "You're in the right place. We're all about keeping this community green and beautiful. There's a lot of passion here." Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite inside him. Maybe this was where he could find those allies he needed. They discussed their concerns and ambitions, and he felt himself opening up. Suddenly, he was sharing more about his family's legacy than he had intended. I want to honor what my parents built," he said, his voice catching slightly. "This land is everything to me." Elise nodded, her expression understanding. "You're not alone in this fight. Many of us have stories like yours. It's a struggle, but when we combine our efforts, we can really make a difference." As the meeting began, Jake listened intently. Ideas flowed freely, a tide of shared dreams and fears washing over him. Strategies to preserve the land were discussed, presentations on local initiatives given. Waves of energy cascaded around the room as inspiration rippled through each speaker. Suddenly, a man at the front stood up, a passion in his voice. "We've seen too many families lose their heritage to developers. We need to fight back. Let us create a coalition, come together, pool our resources, and present a united front. We can make a proposal to preserve our lands. It starts today." A surge of adrenaline coursed through Jake. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a rallying point. As people broke into smaller groups, Jake found himself speaking with others who felt the same urgency. They exchanged numbers and commit to follow-up meetings, sharing everything from gardening tips to legislative strategies. Every connection felt electric, every conversation threaded with the promise of something bigger. By the time the evening wrapped up, Jake felt different. Energized. He wasn't just hoping anymore, he was ready to act. On the drive home, the moon hung high, casting a soft glow on the winding roads. He thought about the faces he had just met, the strength in their collective voices. Together, they could make waves. When he arrived home, he pulled out his laptop and began drafting a proposal to not just protect his land but to invite others on the journey. Just then, a notification chimed on his phone. It was a message from Elise: "Let us meet up again soon. We have so much to discuss. Together, we can create something beautiful." Jake smiled, heart swelling. Maybe, just maybe, he could turn this fear into hope. But as the elation settled, another thought crept in: would the fight mean facing bigger challenges than he anticipated? His fingers tapped the keyboard, racing to open a new document. He had a plan, but with each step forward, he could see obstacles looming in the distance. Could he unite this community under common goals and values, or would the powerful forces trying to buy him out tear them apart? The next morning, Jake woke feeling a mixture of excitement and dread. The sun broke through his bedroom window, casting warm light across his messy desk piled high with papers and notes. He leaned back in his chair, mind racing as thoughts spiraled around what needed to be done. The proposal, the meeting with Elise, and the looming threat of the developers became the focal point of the day. He grabbed a coffee and settled into a groove, fingers flying over the keyboard as he poured his heart into the proposal. Each sentence was a plea for unity, a call to stand against the tide of commercialization. He envisioned families, nature lovers, and even businesses coming together to protect the land. But with every word, a nagging worry lingered: what if they failed? Frustrated, Jake pushed back from the table, running a hand through his hair. He needed a break. He decided to take a walk, hoping a bit of fresh air could clear his head. As he strolled through his neighborhood, past the quaint houses and little shops, the sense of community wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. But just as he rounded the corner to the park, his phone buzzed again. A group chat notification from the stewardship team lit up his screen. Excitement quickened his pulse as he opened it. They had scheduled an impromptu meetup that evening at the community center. Everyone was invited to brainstorm strategies for mobilizing support. The message buried deep in the thread caught his eye: let us not just inform, let us inspire. We need to show our community what's at stake. Jake's heart raced. This was more than just another meeting, it was a chance to ignite passion. He felt a spark of determination reignite within him. He could lead this charge, help everyone see the value in their land. And maybe, just maybe, they could save the land from developers who only saw dollar signs. After an afternoon of prepping, he returned to the center, his nerves bubbling beneath the surface again. But when he entered, he was greeted by friendly faces. Elise waved him over. "Glad you made it. Are you ready to share your ideas?" "Definitely," he replied, feeling a swell of courage. As he joined the group gathered around a table, he noticed the air was charged with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. "As we discuss how to gain traction, I want us to remember why we're here," Elise started. Her voice was steady, calming. "We're not just fighting for land, we're fighting for community, for memories, for future generations. Jake took a deep breath, his previous uncertainty melting as the conversations rolled around the room. Ideas batted back and forth like a ball of energy, plans were drawn up on paper, enthusiasm bubbling louder with each suggestion. "Let us create a flyer," shouted one man. "Something that shows the beauty of our land and the legacy at stake." "Yes." Another chimed in. "And we should reach out to local media. Make some noise." Jake felt the momentum build. He joined the brainstorming, pitching ideas, and catching the collective zeal of everyone around him. But suddenly, a shadow fell over him. A voice he hadn't expected to hear cut through the excitement. "We can't just make a lot of noise," said Frank, a well-known developer in the area. He stood at the edge of the gathering, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. "You have to face reality. Money talks. No one cares about nostalgia." The group fell silent, tension thick in the air. Jake's heartbeat quickened. This was the collision he had feared. As Frank continued to speak, something inside Jake twisted. He had come seeking hope and support, and here it was, challenged right before him. Did they have what it would take to push back against someone with power, someone who claimed the future as his own? Suddenly, Jake felt the collective weight of the group shift. Eyes turned to him, looking for strength. There, in that charged moment, he realized his voice could ignite them. "What if we showed Frank just how much this land means to us?" Jake said, words pouring out in a rush. "Let us gather stories from our community. Real people and real lives tied to this land. If we want to fight back, we have to fight with our hearts." As he finished, he saw nods of agreement. But would that be enough to show Frank and others like him the true value of their heritage? Jake's palms felt clammy as they began to discuss how to gather those stories. But deep down, a small knot of anxiety formed. What if their voices weren't loud enough? The meeting stretched long into the night, but Jake was left feeling a different kind of weight. Change could happen, but it would take more than spirit. Would the community rise to meet the challenge, or would they falter under pressure? As he left the center, Jake looked up at the stars, his mind racing. He had ignited something, but would it be enough? The question hung heavy in the air. Jake found it hard to shake off the weight of Frank's challenge as he walked home that night. The cool air was refreshing, but his heart felt heavy. A million thoughts churned in his head. Did they have enough strength to confront someone like Frank? His mind went back to the faces in the meeting, the hope and fear mingled like colors on a canvas, each person holding onto a piece of the land's story. The next day, Jake woke up with a new resolve. He brewed a strong cup of coffee and set about crafting a plan. He couldn't afford to let doubt creep in. They needed those stories, and they needed them fast. He could almost see the flyer in his mind, the photographs, the words, the heart of the community stitched into every corner. He sent out a message to the stewardship team, urging them to start gathering stories immediately. "We need anecdotes, memories, anything that highlights what this land means to us," he typed. Jake's fingers hesitated for just a second before hitting send. What if people didn't respond? What if they were tired of fighting? Doubt settled like thick fog in his mind, but he shook them off. Hours later, the responses began rolling in. Memories of childhood adventures, picnics under the old oak tree, first dates near the sparkling lake, the joys of life lived in harmony with nature spilled into his inbox. Each story was a little piece of history that painted a broader picture of what they stood to lose. Jake felt a rush of exhilaration. He knew that showcasing these stories could turn the tide. They weren't just fighting against a developer, they were fighting for their identity, their legacy. With each story shared, the sense of urgency deepened. He gathered his notes, organizing them into themes. That evening, he met Elise at the local cafe. Over steaming mugs of coffee, they refined their ideas. "What we need is a community meeting," she suggested, her eyes ablaze with enthusiasm. "Let us invite everyone to share their stories out loud. We can capture the essence of our home." Jake nodded vigorously. And we can live stream it. People will see the passion, the heart of our community. It can't just be words on a page. They need to feel it. As they left the cafe, a fire ignited in Jake. They were building something bigger than a proposal, they were harnessing a movement. But the looming presence of Frank weighed on him. What if he showed up? What if he had a plan to derail them? 3 days later, the community meeting buzzed with energy. Families arrived, children clutching homemade posters, their parents looking hopeful yet nervous. Jake took a deep breath at the front of the room, scanning the crowd. Everyone had come to express their connection to the land. One by one, people stood to share. An elderly woman recalled bringing her children to the park, her voice quivering with emotion. It's where they learned to ride their bikes, where we spent countless summer evenings, she said, tears glistening in her eyes. Every story poured out like a river, flowing over the struggles and triumphs of their lives. Jake felt a wave of emotion wash over him. This was what they had been searching for, not just noise, but a collective heartbeat. Then, unexpectedly, Frank appeared at the back of the room, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The stories continued, but the tension in the air shifted. Jake's heart raced as he noticed Frank's smirk slowly fading. As he prepared to conclude the meeting, a newfound strength blossomed within Jake. They poured their souls out today, that couldn't be ignored. Leaving the crowd with a stirring message, he said, "This land is not just dirt and trees, it's our home. Together, we can stand strong against those who see only profits." Jake paused, the room heavy with silence. His eyes locked on Frank, who stepped forward, brushing his fingers against the doorframe. "You all have heart, but do you truly think your stories will change anything?" Jake's stomach twisted, but he held Frank's gaze. Would this be the moment everything changed? Would their stories be enough to rally others, or would they be dismissed as mere nostalgia? Overwhelmed but resolute, he turned again to the crowd, feeling the warmth radiate from his neighbors. The air crackled with anticipation. Would they reclaim their legacy, or was it all for nothing? As he spoke, he could see the stakes rising. The truth felt tangible, weighing heavy and bright in the charged atmosphere. But when he finished, it left an echo. How far were they willing to go to protect what they loved? The question lingered, and a sense of anxious hope hung in the air. Would they stand together, or would fear drive them apart? The atmosphere was electric, teetering on the edge of something monumental. Jake could feel the collective heartbeats of everyone around him, pulsing with both fear and hope. Frank's challenge loomed large, eclipsing the spirit that had been ignited in that room. But instead of retreating, the crowd seemed determined to hold their ground. Jake stole a glance at Frank, who stood with a smug expression. The man exuded confidence, a wolf in sheep's clothing ready to pounce. Jake tightened his fists at his sides. He had to believe in the power of their stories. "Let us not forget, we're not just telling tales," Jake continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. "These are our lifeblood. They're the truths that bind us to this land. We owe it to ourselves, and to our children, to stand firm until the very end." The crowd erupted into applause, but Frank remained unfazed, his eyes narrowing as if he were assessing a chessboard. Jake could see Elise nodding, her expression one of renewed determination. She stepped up beside him, holding a microphone, her presence exuding warmth. "We have to keep this momentum going," she said, her voice cutting through the electric tension. "Let us document every story shared here tonight, every laugh, every tear." As people raised their hands to share their stories, each voice layered over another like a beautiful quilt. Jake couldn't help but feel the rising tide of hope wash over him. A young man spoke next, his voice a bit shaky. "Growing up, this park was my refuge. I lost my dad when I was just a kid, and the swings were where I learned to escape my sadness. It's where I found myself." He wiped away a single tear, and the room held its breath. Emotions cascaded, pouring out in waves. Stories turned into memories, and memories morphed into visions of a future they all wanted to protect. Laughter softened the moments of heartbreak, the power of community resonating in each shared experience. Jake's heart swelled, pushing back the fear that had crept in when Frank announced himself. This was their power. But just as the warmth of connection reached its peak, Frank disrupted it all. "How quaint," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "But the truth is, nostalgia won't pay the bills. What happens when the banks come looking for their money? How much are those memories worth?" His jeers threw a chill over the room. Resting his hands on the back of a chair, he leaned in, shooting sharp glances at the crowd. Jake felt the tension snap like a taut wire, and anger surged within him. "That's just it, Frank. They are worth more than you can measure in dollars or cents. They are our dreams, our heritage." At that moment, Jake saw vulnerability flicker across the faces of his neighbors. Doubt started to seep in, threatening to overshadow the unity they built. But he could still feel that spark, the kind that ignites movements. He took a deep breath to steady himself, desperate to bring that warmth back into the room. "Tonight is more than just a meeting," he called out, his voice trembling but unwavering. "It's a promise one we make to ourselves and to each other. We will not go quietly into the night." Cheers erupted, the sound filling the space like sunlight breaking through clouds. The collective spirit lifted again, but Jake could still feel Frank's stare, a predator waiting for a chance to strike. Suddenly, an idea struck him. "Let's turn this into a campaign. A real movement. If these stories touch one heart, they can touch many. We can transform our memories into a powerful narrative, one that reaches beyond this room." The energy shifted once more, eyes lighting up as conversation sparked. Ideas flew back and forth: social media campaigns, local art, perhaps even a community documentary. But Jake's heart still raced with concern. Was Frank planning something? Would he retaliate? As the meeting wound down, Jake's resolve strengthened. They had taken a bold step tonight, but the journey was only just beginning. However, as the crowd started to scatter, he remained deeply unsettled. Frank wasn't going to walk away easily. Determined to keep moving forward, Jake looked over the crowd. They needed to grow their strength, their resolve. But could their stories withstand the onslaught that was surely coming? As he faced the uncertain future, he knew this was just the beginning of a much bigger battle. Would they maintain their unity, or would doubts unravel all they had built? The meeting hall felt alive with renewed energy, but Jake couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that lingered in the back of his mind. As people began to filter out, buzzing with ideas, he stood there, a solitary figure anchored by silent dread. Frank. That name echoed like a dark veil over all their progress. Elise sensed his turmoil and stepped beside him, concern etched on her face. "Jake, what's wrong?" she asked softly. She had that gift of cutting through the noise, making the world feel a bit less overwhelming. Jake took a breath, drawing strength from her presence. "It's Frank. He's waiting. We can't let our guard down. He's not just going to sit back and watch us thrive." Elise nodded, her expression steadying. "What do you think he'll do?" "I don't know. But he's not going to scuttle away quietly. He's got means, resources. He sees us as a threat." The weight of his words hung heavy between them. As the last few faces disappeared from the hall, Jake's eyes flicked to the shadow in the corner, where Frank leaned against the wall with an almost casual air. A wolf indeed. The corners of his mouth turned up into a sly grin as if he could sense Jake's apprehension radiating off him. "Nice little pep rally you've got going here," Frank said, his voice laced with mockery. "But tell me, how do you plan to fight when you're all dreaming? Dreams don't pay the lawyer fees." Jake clenched his jaw, but Elise stepped forward first. "You're mistaken if you think dreams are all we have. This is about people who care, people ready to fight for their home." Frank smirked, unfazed. "Oh, I get it. Community spirit and heartfelt stories. Very touching. But when it comes down to it, $500,000 could change some lives, including mine. I suggest choosing wisely how you spend your time, dear. Her face hardened, and Jake felt the fire ignite again. What do you want, Frank? His tone was sharper than he intended. Me? Frank leaned in, his voice smooth like silk. I want what's best for this town, and it definitely isn't aging parks and dusty memories. The stakes felt impossibly high. We're not going anywhere. Our stories are our legacy. Can you say the same about your offer? But Frank only chuckled, a low, throaty sound. My offer has reality behind it. A comforting cushion when the winds of change howl. Jake's heart sank. It struck him that Frank wasn't just offering money, he was offering an escape, a tempting lure away from their roots. It made his stomach twist. So that's your game? Buy us out and erase our histories? Not erase, generally. Just rewrite. Frank shrugged nonchalantly, as if life was simply a draft to be edited. Look. You can play the hero all you want. People love stories, money buys freedom. Besides, it's an easy win for me. Behind him, Elise clenched her fists. We are not selling. Oh, you might just change your tune. You'll have to face the banks eventually. How long before they knock on your doors? Jake's mind raced. There was truth hidden behind that arrogance. Was there movement enough to withstand the pressure of financial worry? How would people react when it became clear that Frank could rip all their hard work apart faster than they had built it? A sudden idea struck him. Maybe we need to show the town what we stand for, not just in words. We should gather stories in a way we can present to everyone. Get their emotional investment out there. Like what? Elise asked, but Jake could see a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I don't know yet, but if we can flood social media, raise awareness, and build a narrative that speaks to everyone, maybe Frank won't look so appealing after all. Just then, the crowd began to trickle back into the hall, drawn by the hopeful energy radiating from Jake and Elise. Together, we can do this, she said, squeezing his arm. But would that really be enough? How far could they push back before Frank's plans engulfed them? As the room filled again, Jake felt the familiar mix of hope and fear flutter in his chest. Was it too late, or was the battle just beginning? In that moment, they needed to decide, would they choose to fight for their memories, or would fear dictate their future? With Frank's presence looming in his mind, Jake knew this struggle was deeper than he ever imagined. Could they truly unite and protect their community? Or was all this already crumbling under the weight of overwhelming decisions? The sun peeked through the curtains, washing Jake in a warm glow. This was the dawn of a monumental day. His heart beat like a drum, echoing the urgency to act. Yesterday had ignited something in him, a sense of purpose that sparked like electricity. But alongside it loomed the shadow of doubt. How would they rally the community against Frank? Frank, with his dollar signs, his cronies, and his talk of reality. As he stood by the kitchen table, filled with scattered notes and heartfelt stories from his neighbors, he envisioned them as anchors to the land. Each memory was woven into the fabric of their community, a tapestry rich with shared experiences and love. He felt a fire in his veins. He couldn't back down. They were all counting on him. While downing a hasty breakfast, he tapped a message to Elise. Let's set a date for the community campaign to gather support and stories tonight. We need a rallying cry. The boldness surprised him, but he hit send, urgency rippling through him. Jake grabbed his jacket and bolted outside, determination settling in. What if Frank had said to rewrite their history? He could challenge that narrative. They must fight back, and finding their voices was just the beginning. When he arrived at the community center, a buzz filled the air as families gathered for the evening. Jake could see the excited glances, the determination written on their faces. He climbed to the front, adrenaline pumping, and clapped his hands to get their attention. Everyone. Tonight, we're not just sharing stories, we're building an unstoppable force. We're going to show Frank that our memories are worth more than his cash. We will drown out his doubts with our voices. His words thundered through the room, igniting a flickering flame of hope. Elise stepped up beside him, eyes brimming with enthusiasm. We could create community canvases. Who here has a story to paint? She projected warmth like sunlight. This was their chance. There was something incredibly powerful about people sharing their personal experiences, their heart-filled ties to the land. Hands shot into the air, stories bubbling into conversations. People shouted their ideas, a mural that echoed their shared memories, photographs juxtaposed with quotes about legacy, and even poetry readings that could weave their past into the present. The energy was contagious. As discussions flourished, Jake felt like he was standing on the edge of a vibrant wave, ready to crash forward. People chipped in with old photos, tales of family picnics near the lake, and kids playing beneath the oak tree. Each image spoke of love, family, and community, a heartbeat stronger than any developer's contract. Moments later, a hush fell over the room as an elderly man approached the front, his voice shaky but firm. I moved here 50 years ago, and this land welcomed me as one of its own. It's my home, not just ground and soil. If Frank wants to erase our histories, he first has to face us. Applause erupted, filling the room until it felt alive with hope. They were rallying around a cause that resonated far deeper than dollars and cents. Jake could feel the tide turning, their collective heartbeat drumming loud enough that even Frank's shadow couldn't silence them. As the night wore on, they drafted flyers and canvassing ideas. A community petition took shape, designed to gather signatures endorsing their mission to protect their beloved land. Each stroke of the pen felt like a small act of defiance, an act of love. When the meeting finally concluded, Jake stood by the door, watching people leave with renewed purpose. They were warriors now. His heart swelled with pride. Together, they created a plan to send a powerful message to Frank, a single unified front. But as the crowd dispersed, he couldn't shake the nagging thought. Would this be enough? Back home, Jake stared out the window into the night sky. The moon hung high, a guardian of their hopes. Tomorrow, they would hit the ground running. But an unseen weight rested in the back of his mind. What if Frank retaliated? What if the tides turned against them? The answer came rushing in. Fear could only stifle their momentum if they allowed it. They needed to be seen not just as individuals but as a community bound by memories and dreams. That night would stealthily herald the birth of something profound. The next morning, Jake took his laptop to a local diner, filled with anticipation. He typed out a post: "We are uniting to protect our home, our stories. Join us." The love and urgency seeped through his words as he clicked send. Each moment mattered, each heart that joined could shift the balance. Soon, notifications pinged, messages flooded in. The community stood firm, embodying the strength of their stories. When Frank inevitably responded, it wouldn't be to an individual but to a tide of their shared voices. With excitement coursing through him like wildfire, Jake realized they were more than just a community, they were a legacy. As he placed his laptop down, he felt a wave of determination wash over him. This battle was theirs to fight, and they would not back down. Together, they would prove that memories and love could triumph over greed. As he looked around the diner, his spirits soared. Would the developer's threats loom over them? Yes. But they were ready to face the storm together. And beyond that storm was a chance to claim their future. As Jake stepped outside into the crisp morning air, a smile broke across his face. Hope. It was real, more potent than ever before. They would forge a path to preserve their land, and in doing so, they would remind the world of its unbreakable spirit. Every tree, every swing, every cherished memory. Their story was just getting started. Now was the time for action. You need to subscribe now to the channel for more inspirational tales like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this transformation. Comment below with how you felt about this ending and what you're inspired to do in your own life. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey. Together, we can spark change.